Hello guys, today we're going to have a look at another new model. This is a Komatsu PC400LC model. It's quite an old model, but luckily enough I got it second hand, so I don't feel so bad about basically demolishing the model. But basically I'm going to convert this to RC, and today we're going to have a look at converting the cylinders here. A standoff wasn't going to do this because the cylinders are quite a bit longer than a standoff that I could find. So instead I got this brass tube. The hole in the middle is 3mm. So the plan is to get a nut on a screw like this, place it in the tube and solder onto the end of it. That'll hopefully end up looking something like the end of this cylinder here. It's a little bit wider, and although it's a little bit narrower, it should be good enough. So if we solder that nut on, we should have an M3 thread inside our tube here, so we can screw in and out the bar here to actuate our boom here. So that's the plan. So we'll see if it's working. It should just be a case of soldering these. I actually happen to find brass nuts, so that should be a simple enough solder. I plan to use one of these N20 gear motors again for the screw mechanisms in this machine. I think I'll just mount them in this pivot point here, but I think I'll just leave the motors up above the boom so that they can move around and they can be replaced later on if I want. At the minute these are only the 30 RPM motors, but I'm waiting on the faster motors to arrive. Once I've tested out which motors are kind of best suited for this, I'll order a few more, and that should give us plenty of control on our boom. The other thing that I'm going to do, so we have two motors here, one motor here, and for these motors I think I'll just mount them like this so that they'll screw down. So the idea is that it mightn't be very hidden, like, I mean, that doesn't look very original, but we should have plenty of lifting power and pushing power because we're kind of getting the ideal angle for pushing down on the cylinders. So we're going to have a motor on each side of the boom here, a motor here and a motor here. So that means to do that we need 3 motor drivers, and that is going to leave us with a spare motor driver slot. So my plan is to mount sockets here for an accessory, so for say a quick hitch or a rock hammer idea. So I actually have a solenoid. I ordered it and it has arrived, and it looks like it's going to make a pretty good rock hammer. Now it won't actually be able to break rock or anything, but it should just tap out at a reasonable rate through the or using the solenoid. But that'll be in a follow-up video, so if you want to see that, make sure and subscribe so you don't miss out on that. I think I'm going to make a body for the solenoid out of copper, so might work, might not. We'll just have to give it a go and see what happens. Okay, so the first thing we're going to have to do is try and drill out these pins so that we can replace the things with our own versions. Now, like, we want to take the bucket off here so that we can replace that with accessories later, so we'll want to put a little bolt or something in there that we can unscrew when we want to. So I'm just going to try and drill these out and we'll see does that work. Okay, now we've drilled part of it out, we'll get something to try and push the other end out. That's actually come out rather easily at the back here, so we can just pull it out, maybe. There's a little burr on the back, so we'll just have to squash that. So there we go, that's the first pin out, so we just need to repeat that for all the rest of the pins, and then we should be ready to start. Well, there's the bucket off, and the second pin took a little bit more persuasion. It needed to use a hammer for that one, so I just got a little bolt that was smaller than the hole. It's a 3mm hole, and just tapped it out gently. So you might have to do that with a few of the pins. Okay, so I've most of the boom removed now, so we just need to take out these 2 pins on the lower end of the cylinders here. So to do that, I'm going to have to take off the cab so that we can see that. So let's see how much of this we can get apart. The screws underneath here. Drive pretty big. Okay. That got off the rear of our excavator. We have lots of space there. We should have no problem at all getting our electronics to fit in here. So we still need our cab off though, and there's a screw just here, so we'll take that off. And that's the cab off. This is much nicer to work on than the Hitachi. Just the way it's built, it's a lot simpler. So now we can see our pin here. See our pin here, and that's it. We'll just take them apart. To get to this one, we need to take a little bit more off. So first thing we have to do, take off the undercarriage here. Okay. So there we go. A little plastic bushing there, so that's alright. This is all very well built compared to the Hitachi. This simple little plastic spacer there makes this slew very smooth. So we need to take off this under piece here. Okay. So now what do we do? Just have to take this plastic piece out first. That lets us slide forward. Okay. So we had to lift this plastic piece up, and that let the whole thing slide forward. Like that. Okay. So now we have this exposed, this pin exposed. So we'll just drill that out and drill this one out and this one out, and that's the whole model pretty much disassembled, ready for our screw mechanisms. Well, that's everything apart now. We have all our cylinders off, so now it's time to make our own out of our brass rod. So I'll go up and try and solder this nut onto here. I have a bolt threaded in here so that when I solder it I can thread back out this bolt, and we should have a perfect little screw mechanism. I'm going to try and solder it with a heat gun to try and get enough heat up to, a hot air gun to try and get enough heat to solder it. Okay, so I've made the first part of the cylinders. We have 2 to lift the boom, so they'll probably go somewhere there. Then we have this longer one for kind of the extending the boom, so that one will go there. And the last one is for the bucket, so it'll go there. Like I said, it'll be these little N20 motors. So in the end, it's going to look something like this. So I don't think it looks too bad. Hopefully it'll be powerful enough. The only problem now is that I don't have M3 threaded bar long enough for this for these cylinders. So what I'm going to have to do is order some threaded bar and catch up with this project in a later video. Well, that's everything for today. So if you enjoyed that video, make sure and hit the like button, and there'll be a follow-up video, so make sure and subscribe so you don't miss out on that. And if you have any questions or suggestions, you can post them below or post them in the forum, and I'll try and answer them if I can. And that's everything. So thanks very much for watching.